Andrew and Lou, congratulations on your recent Oscar nomination for your animated short film, Borrowed Time. How did it feel when you got the news you'd been nominated?
How did we feel? I mean, it was crazy. We got up at 4 in the morning and met up at our producer's house and decided that we were going to celebrate how far we had come, regardless of getting nominated or not. So we had got like champagne, and we were going to make a breakfast. And we prepared ourselves to not see our name there mentally, so that we could not, break down and cry. And instead, we got to break down and cry about getting nominated, which was a nice treat.
Yeah, no, it was remarkable how much pent up stress we didn't even realize we had.
Yeah,
just suddenly snap and release in that moment. So there's a lot of jubilation, a lot of crying, a lot of hugging.
Yeah, significant others were there as well. So yeah, it's just a crazy emotional explosion.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations again. So let's talk a bit about the film. What is the film about for people who have not seen it?
Well, the film is an animated Western that deals with a man who's looking for closure, returning to the scene of an accident that has haunted him his entire life.
Sorry, we're in an office and someone knocked on the door. Yeah, so it's not the usual fare for animation in terms of the tone and subject matter, but we thought it was important to keep pushing on animation being a medium to tell any story and not a genre unto itself.
Well, where did the idea come from?
So we went to school together at NYU Tisch Film, and we worked on each other's short films there and really loved working together. So we decided we were going to make a film out of school and came up with a bunch of ideas. And then Lou went to Pixar and I went to Blue Sky. And so it was back before cloud technology, so we couldn't really start making a film. And we decided to wait until we were together. And I started at Pixar in 2010. And we were like, all right, let's do this. Let's make a film. And kind of like what I was saying before, we wanted to do something different than what our day job was. We wanted to tackle something different than the sort of 4-quadrant family animated film, and do something a little grittier, a little tonally darker.
And a lot of that is also due to the fact that we knew we would have to do this in our off time.
Yeah.
If you spend 9 to 5 working on one thing and then you switch over and you clock into your passion project, you probably want to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
So as we were looking through the backlog of film ideas that we had come up with since college, the Western idea in particular seemed like it had an answer for some of the thematic things that we were interested in tackling, and was kind of really ripe with a lot of opportunity for us to, I don't know,
play around with
upend people's expectations and that sort of thing.
Of not only what animation could be, but what Western can be, because we're taking this, stereotypical sort of cowboy, stoic, emotionless, and putting him in a place where it's all about dealing with his emotions. And we thought that was an interesting juxtaposition. But the story itself was a lot bigger when we started. It was a film about forgiveness on a bigger scale and betrayal of trust. And we found that we could not do that in the 6 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes, which is the only manageable amount of time really that we could handle in terms of making a film. So we decided to cut it down as much as we could, and it was a long process. It took us probably 2 to 2.5 years of like trying different versions and playing around and learning about story, because that was sort of the biggest learning curve we had, because we're not from the story department in any of the studios we've worked in. I'm an animator and Lou's a character TD. It was a lot of therapy and talking things through and finding and whittling down to something simpler, which is what Borrowed Time became. And we always found a fascination with how objects can have so much meaning for people, especially when people have died and there's things that they've left behind. I was really into hoarders for a long time, and that show Hoarders, it's just addicting. I kept watching it over and over, and it was always the same thing. It was people like not being able to let go of that person and having it in an object. And we thought that was something that was really interesting to kind of tackle in a film.
Yeah. And in our case, we kind of flipped that a little bit in having an item that is lost, right? That you've endowed a certain meaning with, and what that would mean to you if you suddenly and unexpectedly came across something that reminded you of somebody that you lost or loved.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. In terms of the animation style, what were your thoughts and ideas? You know, color and shape and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, we looked at a lot of live action films for inspiration. We looked at a lot of the spaghetti westerns and Butch Cassidy for like the what's it, chroma, Technicolor. Like there's a nostalgic feel to those films in the film stock. So we try to use that for some of the flashbacks, and then we looked at films like more monochromatic films like The Road for like the present day gloomier monochromatic side of the short. Do you have any other thoughts on?
I mean, we wanted to have things have a certain grit to them, and that extends into also. I mean, down to the character's skin being, you know, sweaty and dirty and, you know, dirt under their nails, all the way to making sure that we had this thing look like it was shot on actual film and have like a film grain to it that harkened to some of those things that we, you know, recognize the nostalgia in from films like Butch Cassidy and whatnot. So there was a lot of dirt and a lot of time put into adding dirt to the thing to give it a little bit more weight and ground it in the world. Our character designs in particular, we wanted to still have more graphic and pushed shapes, but the material treatment and that sort of thing, the lighting, all of that, we wanted to be as grounded as possible because we wanted it to carry the drama of the short and not have things be oversimplified to the point where, you know, the peril is not, you know, you don't want to look at these characters and think, oh gosh, they're gonna, you know, spring back if they hit something, they're just gonna pop back up because they're made out of rubber, right? Wanted everything to feel tactile, and there's blood, there's cuts and bruises, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And how did your years at Pixar and Blue Sky, what did that experience give you that helped you with this film?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned for myself working at, you know, at Blue Sky and Pixar is the sort of the art of collaboration and working with people, and how these endeavors are inherently collaborative because they're so difficult and big, and there's so many different facets that you have to learn and understand in order to do a film like on your own. Like we could have done Borrowed Time on our own if we had 20 years, but you know, it's much more fun and you learn a lot more, and the film will be the better if you work with people that you trust and you all grow together and kind of, you know, sharpen each other. And that was something that I think, you know, being in a bigger studio, you start seeing the value of individuals, and you start seeing the value in learning different things and how you can like help each other and grow together.
And it's also fed back into our work here at the studio since we've made the film and during, but now we can enter into conversations in a way that we're considering the whole of the film much more in the conversation that we have, now that we've had to, you know, remove ourselves from these individual roles and think of things a little bit more globally. That's been actually really rewarding and very helpful in kind of letting our personal work take its next steps.
What led you along the path of getting into animation?
Well, for me, I always grew up watching movies and films. My dad he was a businessman, but his heart was a filmmaker, and he loved, like, he was always in film societies, and he would be part of, you know, getting screeners, and we'd have like screenings at my house growing up on like Saturdays where we'd watch independent films, and I'd just sneak in while they were all picking the films that they were going to bring to to the theater, and I would just had like an education and sort of upbringing in film. And I also loved art, and I loved painting and drawing. And my parents always thought I was going to be an animator from when I was a little kid. But when I was in high school, like I became like a lot more, what's the word? I don't know. I was really aspiring to be a filmmaker more than an animator. But when I went into college, and we both met at Tisch Film at NYU, I saw that you can kind of combine filmmaking with art, and that is literally animation, because you have to be able to paint and draw, or at least your work is better with the more observation and skill you have in the art of it. And that's something that really appealed to me, and that's kind of what got me into animation.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think at a young age, I would see films like Jurassic Park or Star Wars or what have you, and the thing that spoke to me the most at that age was the visual effects side of things. There was a show that was on the Discovery Channel when I was a kid called Movie Magic that I would beg my parents to let me stay up to watch at like 8 o'clock or whatever on a Sunday night before school the next day. And it was just engrossing to learn that, you know, people made a living doing these things and making some of my favorite moments in film. And that, I think, was the spark that set me onto a film trajectory. Animation in particular came a bit later, when in college I realized that, you know, you could do some similar things to what was appealing to me about visual effects, but actually have more of an influence on character and story in that way. And I think that kind of compounded with our film education kind of was the bundle that I got wrapped up in. And yeah, I've been loving it ever since. So.
Now that the film is nominated for an Oscar, it's going to be sought out and seen by a lot of people, not just people like myself, but you know, they play these short films in theaters, and people love to go and see them. What do you hope people take away from the film when they see it?
Well, I mean, I think we hope that it connects with them in an emotional way. I mean, it was, you know, that's a large part of why it took us 5 years to make the thing, was we were looking for a story that would connect with its audience as much as possible. We hope that people will take from it that it's, you know, it is, you know, adding to the conversation that animation can be more than just a family film genre or a children's genre.
Yeah, I mean, we hope that people talk about it amongst themselves in terms of what it means to them. And what they take from the film. It's the type of film, and it's the type of film that the types of films that we like to watch are the ones that at the end of it, it makes you consider everything you've watched from the beginning. And it's more like self-reflection and a way to kind of delve into your own life and think about your own struggles. And hopefully people, when they finish watching the film, it gives them a conversation piece to frame their own issues and the things that we're all going through, because we all lose people, we all make mistakes in our lives, and this is just, you know, an exploration on the guilt that you feel at still being alive when people aren't around anymore.
And hopefully people will want to see it again.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff in there that on repeated viewings, I think you'll get more of an enriched experience out of it.
For sure.
Gentlemen, congratulations again on your nomination and on your film, and thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Thank you too.